from your sleep, the drying of your tears. Today we escape, we escape. Hey, it's Nate, and today I am doing exit music for a film by Radiohead. One of my favorite songs on OK Computer, just beautiful and haunting, and the build gives me chills. Tom York's central acoustic guitar part translates really well to piano, so I'll show you exactly how to do that. I'll also give you an additional option for the rhythm pattern once the band kicks in to capture the energy of the recording. Let's jump in. All right, so first off, I recommend you get the chords and lyrics chart. There's a link down in the description, and that'll help you follow along and see where the chords and lyrics line up with each other. Before we jump into the intro, I want to just talk about the rhythm and counting in this song. So let's just take a measure of B minor, which is the chord this song revolves around, and we're going to voice it like this. B, D, and F sharp. This is middle C, so you get the octave. And then with my first finger an octave lower, I'm playing a B. We're in 4/4 time, so the measure is get 4 counts, and we're going to be thinking a really slow 4/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4. And right off the bat, to get the rhythm, we need to think in eighth notes. So dividing the beat in half, thinking 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And the basic playing pattern is going to be the left hand's going to play the bass note on beat 1. And then the right hand's going to play on all the ands. So if you're nodding your head along, you hit on the downbeat, or maybe this is you tapping your foot. And then on all those upbeats, we hit the right hand. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And so spend some time getting the hang of that, because we're just going to use that pattern for the whole song. All right, so let's do the intro. It looks like that. We already basically have it because it's mostly just doing that pattern on B minor, but we do need 2 other chords. We need the B sus2. Only difference there is instead of the D, we're doing a C sharp with our second finger. And then the B sus4 is going to be with an E with our fourth finger. And the timing of that measure is the first 3 counts we are on that B minor. That's what those dashes are. That's count 2 and 3 of that measure. And then just on the 4 and, we're going to hit the sus2 to the sus4. So that first line, which repeats twice, is going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, and then it repeats around a second time. 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and now we just have 2 more measures of straight up B minor before the verse starts. Wake. Okay, let's look at that verse. Here's the chords for that. It starts with another measure of B minor before a measure of F sharp. So I'm going to come down, use my fourth finger on an F sharp bass note here, and then use first and second on A sharp and C sharp. And notice that my fifth finger just stays on the F sharp. So a really nice transition between those 2 chords. Next, we've got this D over A. Notice yet again, my fifth finger's on that F sharp, and I'm doing an A bass note because it's D/A or D over A. So you can use your second finger for that. And then the right hand's doing an inversion on a D major chord. A, D, and F sharp. And then this chord looks intense. It's not too tricky though. It's an E add 9 over G sharp. So the left hand bass note's going to step down, third finger's going to hit G sharp, and then I'm going to use my right hand to do B, E, and F sharp. Another F sharp with the fifth finger. And this works really nicely with first, fourth, and fifth, but depending on your fingers, you might like to do something else. And of course, we're just doing that same rhythm pattern to mimic Tom's guitar. So this line would be, wake from your sleep, the drying of your tears. Okay, now we're back to B minor. Today we escape. So same thing, F sharp. we escape. So that B sus4 is the same one we did in the intro, though this time it lasts a full measure. And then we resolve down to a B major, which is really cool because we've been on B minor the whole time. So we got that parallel minor major thing going on, which is really striking. So the B is the same as the B minor, but the D is a D sharp instead. And then the second half of this verse is essentially the same thing again. So we start the next line, all of a sudden we go back to the parallel minor. And then the main difference here is going to be, first off, he starts doing more bass notes. So on count 3 as well, a lot of the time. He's not super consistent about it, but starting here, I might do 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and get dressed. So just picking up the energy a tiny bit. Before your father. Okay, so here's the one difference. So for the E add 9 over G sharp, you're only on that for 2 counts before just stepping the bass note down to a G. And so that makes it an E minor add 9 because that's the third of the chord that's making it major or minor. We're voicing it in the left hand. Kind of cool. And then this last line is what you would expect, same as the second line. Let me just play through that whole verse. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and wake from your sleep. The drying of your tears today. We escape, we escape. Pack and get dressed before your father hears us, before all hell breaks loose. So also getting a little bit louder there as we build energy towards the chorus. So let's check out that chorus. Breathe, keep breathing. I love this part. So here's the chorus to that. Just that switch from the B minor space to that A minor space is so nice. So we've got this A minor add 4 here. And I'm stepping down to an A bass note with my second finger in the left hand. And then I'm voicing this E, A, C, and D. It's a little bit of a stretch, a little bit of a weird voicing. If it's easier for you, you could totally put this E up here and do it like this. But this sounds a little closer to the guitar voicing. So I'm going to do that. And this is a measure of 6/4 time. So we're going to do 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and before stepping down to this E7 over G sharp. So of course the bass note steps to a G sharp. And then in the right hand from that A voicing, the outer notes can stay the same, but then the A steps down to a G sharp and the C steps down to a B. Or maybe do it like that. So it's just a root position E dominant 7 chord, E, G sharp, B, and D with that G sharp bass note. And this next line gets a little funky with the counting as well. So we're going to come back up to this B sus2, and that's going to be for the first 2 counts of that measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and so second half is a regular B minor. And then at some point in here, we've got a bunch of B's in a row. We're going to want to move our 4th finger to the B bass note because in a sec we have to move it up to an E. So I'll just kind of hop my 4th finger there when we get here. So another count of B sus2. This is just going to be 1 count. We've got a measure of 6/4 time here. The way the timing is going to work is 1 count, so 1 and of the B sus2, and then just one count of E minor. That's going to be 2 and. So coming up to that E, like I mentioned, and then you can keep from the B sus2, you can keep your first finger where it is, and then come up here and do E and G, 2 and then 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. We've got really 4 full counts here of the B minor over D. So we're going to do a D bass note there and then a B minor just as we've been doing it. So far for this line, we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and before just doing a measure of F sharp sus4. And I'm gonna just move my 4th finger to that bass note because that gets our hand back in the main position. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and before just getting right back to breathe. Keep breathing. Just one measure of this, 3 and 4 and then this is gonna be the same timing here. I'll sing with it this time. I can't do this. Notice I move my 4th finger there. Alone. Okay, and then we're going to the F sharp again, but this time it's a little different. It's a little drawn out here. So we've got F sharp sus4 for 2 counts, and then I'm just gonna add the 7th. You hear that E, not in the guitar part, but in some of those vocal keyboard pad thingies. So I think it sounds really cool there. I'm just going to add on 3 and 4 and before just going to the regular F sharp for the final measure. So let me just play through that whole chorus one more time. And I should mention, all throughout this song, I'm using the sustain pedal. I'm holding the sustain pedal down the whole time, except for just a quick lift anytime the chord changes. If you need help with pedal lift timing, I made a video all about that, but I think it makes this all sound a lot nicer. So here is the chorus. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and breathe. Go into the next verse. Sing us a song. So this is the same stuff. A song to keep us warm. So you don't step down to the G this time. There's such a chill. Such a chill. Building the dynamics here. Boom, boom, okay, so now we're in the bridge. This is where the whole band really kicks in. And you can laugh. All right, so it starts with a B minor, but I'm going to be playing octaves for this and the next section to get that power. This is where the bass comes in. And I'm going to keep doing the playing pattern. Tom York's offbeat guitar playing goes through the rest of the song, but of course the bass and the drums kind of add a different rhythmic feel. So I will go back and give you a second option for this, but for now I am just going to keep it with the same playing pattern, but adding the energy by having the octaves here. So a measure of B minor. Then we've got the C sharp 7. So we can keep our first finger on B here. I'm doing the C sharp octaves here in the left hand, and C sharp, F and G sharp. If that is too tricky for you, you could leave out the C sharp here and just do that, because we do have the C sharps in the left. And then we're going to come down to a measure of F sharp. But now we've got this G. So that's the first time we've had a G major in the song. So just stepping up to G here and doing B, D, G in the right hand. So it's an inversion of G major. And we're going to be on this G for 2 measures. We hope your rules. So C major, just straight up, octaves C, E, G, root position, C major chord on middle C there. And then we've got this F sharp sus4, just like we've been doing it. And F sharp regular there. So you can play it exactly like that, but the synth bass has these little melody moments at the end of measures before it changes to new chords throughout here. So I'm going to give you that option. So the first instance is on the B minor, and all of these are going to be on 4 and leading into the next measure. So for this one, it's going to be D and E. And I'm just going to do those single bass notes even though I'm doing the octaves. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and just note that the first of the 2 notes happens between hits, and then your hands hit together on the and after 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So on the transition to the F sharp, you can do, once again, with single bass notes here, just G sharp, G, and then you just kind of gotta hop to the octaves on the F sharp. And then this time it's gonna be A, B, leading into the G's. And then it doesn't really do it here because it's on G for another measure. But then we have, it's gonna just be B, G, on the 4 and leading into the C. And then this time it's D, E, and that's the last point. Oh, I did the F sharp sus4 wrong. So with all of that together, it's and you can laugh a spineless laugh. We hope your rules and wisdom choke you. Okay, and then we are in the outro. This is the big climax. Here are the chords for that. And unsurprisingly, for this next line, I'm going to keep doing those octaves because it's big. We've got a measure of B minor. Now we are one in ever. So I think Tom's guitar keeps doing the same thing as it does in the verses, the D over A, but the bass, the synth bass that is now in, does do a D. So I'm going to do that rather than the A. In everlasting. And then same thing here. I think he's still doing, like the E add 9 over a G sharp, but the character of the chord changes a little bit when we're hearing the E bass note from the synth bass. So I'm now going to call this chord for this context a E sus2. And so coming up to the E bass note here, peace. And so you can do an E minor here. It's hard to tell exactly because there's so many layers. So I'm definitely hearing a G up top. So it's more of that E minor sound. But you could totally keep that F sharp in there. I think I'll probably do that. And then all of a sudden the song starts backing off. We hope that you choke. Now, So we know all these chords here, but coming into this, you'll probably want to be on octaves on we hope that you choke, and maybe back off to just single bass notes there. That you choke, single B there for the B sus4, but then down the octave there. And then we hope back to the high octave, and this is where it's really stripped back all of a sudden to the acoustic guitar. That you choke, that you choke. So just getting nice and quiet again. And I'm just going back to only doing the left hand every measure. We hope. So song's really winding to a close. That you choke. That you choke. And then at the end, you can just hit that B. So no more rhythm, just land on that B. You might even want to add the low octave. Vraska is bothered by someone walking by the house. How dare they? And that's the end of the song. But like I mentioned, starting with that bridge, the band kicks in and the feel of the song changes a little bit. So I want to give you an option to kind of capture that in your playing. So that would sound like this. And you can laugh, a spineless laugh. So here are the counts and rhythms for that. We're thinking in 16th notes here, so dividing the beat in 4, thinking 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And let's just learn it on a B minor chord here. So on the 1, you're going to play your hands together. And then on the 2, you're going to play just the right hand. So that's going to be 1 E and 2 E and. So starting on the and after 2, we're going to play on every 16th note for a minute, just going back and forth, left, right, left. So 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 and. So just right at the end, there's another right, left, but on 8th notes instead of the 16th notes. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1, 2 and 3 E and 4 and 1. 2 and 3 E and 4 and. So you can just apply that. Can laugh. And of course, you don't have to, even if you're doing this rhythm, but if you'd like to add those extra bass notes, that works. 1, 2, 4 and 1. So you can continue it here. We are one in everlasting peace. Or you could keep the pattern going. We hope, I would still do it here, that you choke, that you choke. So single bass note here, down to low octave here. And then probably here is where I'd switch back to we hope, because everything kind of starts fading out except for Tom's guitar, which is doing this rhythm, and that kind of becomes the main rhythmic feel again. I've been really torn, but I think for my version, I'm just going to keep the offbeats going because it is a little bit jarring to switch between the end of the second verse to the bridge, to go from the offbeat to suddenly feeling on the downbeat with the chords, because even though this feel mimics the drums and the bass, on the recording we still are getting that upbeat feel from Tom's guitar. So there's something about switching to it on piano and losing the upbeat feel entirely. So that's why I'm going to keep it Just the same pattern throughout, but make your pick. I think the other way sounds really cool too. All right, thank you for sticking with me. I am now going to do a full playthrough so you can see how all the parts fit together. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and click the bell so you know when I put out more videos like this one. Okay, here's my version of exit music for a film. Wake from your sleep, the drying of your tears. Today we escape, we escape. And get dressed before your father hears us, before all hell breaks loose. Sing us a song